Hello everyone, my name's BottleTopHornet and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft. As you can see, I've been doing a little bit, fiddling around and trying out some ideas for a little bit of detail in this dock area, and I kind of like this look. It sort of matches in with the dark prismarine that we have up there, brings it all together, and if I have one rocket left. If I fly up into the air, yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. It especially looks great from down this angle here. Hold on. I love that sort of sight line. I've started to remove the sails because I want to redo those and adding some stuff to the ship, but that's just things that I'll do in between episodes. But yeah, I really do love that that vision right there. Little pieces of information stacked behind each other is really cool. But that's not what this episode's about. It's finally time to start on our repository. In between episodes, I went and gathered a bunch of the mossy cobble bricks from the stronghold, and so I've got myself a little bit. My stronghold looks like a piece of Swiss cheese right now, but that should be plenty for the little pieces that I want to blend into this area here. Now, I've been thinking about how I want to do this, and I do have some ideas, but we're going to have to sort of improvise a little bit. I want to expand these side bits, these hallway sections, and make them a fair bit larger so that they're a little bit more significant. And I think this idea of having the natural cavern that this is part of, so having this roof, I sort of want to kind of build up the walls around this area. So imagine from that walkway there, we have the roof line, the timber, the whatever we end up putting as the building part of it, coming down and meeting the walls around here. But, excuse me, I'm trying to talk. God, this hitboxes are so small. But what I'm thinking is I would like to try and blend or almost poke through sections of the stone, maybe out of the corners and a little bit through here, as though the building has actually been pushed into and built around the natural stonework, but like the natural cavern itself. So I want to try and blend these walls down a little bit more so that it's not so much a flat surface there, and sort of make it look like from down here, I might have to go a little bit lower, but from about down there, this entire place is essentially a cavern that was then added to and dug some small holes out, some small hallways out, I suppose, to add to it, to use this natural cavern, this large open area. Because if we look at it from down here, you imagine this being like a large circle, the way that I've dug it out, this sort of dome shape. So I think that's what I want to do. And just thinking about it all, it's going to be a lot of work. This is going to be one of the bigger builds that I've done so far. And I'm going to do what I can to get it into one episode, but there's a definite possibility that what I might do is this episode try and get the whole thing built, just the shell of it and whatnot. And then in the next episode, we spend some time setting up display cases for the mobs and getting our Enderman down here, adding details and things like that. So with that being said, I'm going to clear out this area a little bit more, probably remove some of this stuff here, and get myself prepared with some materials and whatnot to get started with building. Now, we'll go over a few details and my ideas for a block palette and how I want to set it up. I might get this area prepared for the stairs coming down, but then we'll jump into a time lapse and I'll do my best to go over the whole thing afterwards and explain the thought process behind it. So with that being said, I'm going to grab myself some materials. We're going to get ourselves started and yeah, we'll jump into the episode. Huh. Who's been standing on my... I need to put a fail-safe over this so that something like... it's not ideal, but I'll have to do something about it, otherwise we're going to keep getting that problem. So I'll crouch down into here. Oh, there's none left. Did they... No. Whatever did that got rid of all of... pain. Well, I was going to come over here and fix up this this pickaxe, but it looks like I might have to do some grinding to get myself some experience bottles back. So what I've done here is just quickly, while I was gathering other material, what did I get? I got some, I put them somewhere. Oh, there we go. The blackstone and some dark oak and whatnot. I just opened this up a little bit more and tried to work out or start working out the idea of how I want this staircase to come down into here. And I also realized that with just up there being where I came down to my my little mine area, I could actually create an entrance down here. So if we just pop down like so, just down here is where I was doing all that mining to get the materials to do the terraforming. Eventually I'll do something and create a slightly better entrance into here as well. Oh, I don't have any... I don't... I don't have any rockets. It's all right. One of these has fireworks in it. There we go. That's why it's always handy to have a shulker box of rockets in your ender chest. So if we pop back up here, I started to expand those out as well, and I think I might go a little bit wider. We'll have to see what happens as I start to add the ceiling to it. But what I'm going to do is set myself up with a bit of a block palette. I want to put some blocks together and see whether they are the style that I want, and then once I've kind of worked that out, I can start to work down in here. So I'm going to set up in the middle here an idea, or maybe against one of those walls, an idea of the design that I want to go with before I start to do the main build itself, so that I sort of can go into it with a better idea of what I'm trying to achieve. So let me grab some, oh, I've got so much stone. And then we can get into working on this. So what I'm going to do is, for starters, one of the main reasons I wanted this is because of how, as I was talking earlier about sort of creating this as a natural cavern, I like the idea of there being a little bit of mossiness, a little bit of growth in the existing textures of the wall. So while we will use some plain bricks as well, I think having a lot of the moss in there mixed throughout is going to look nice. Then sort of up on the roof sections, I want to create it out of this spruce. So we have sections of spruce like that. And then I think any structure, like any structured area, can have either the normal sort of barked version of the dark oak, but I also like this to match with spruce. The stripped dark oak tends to just have this nice neutral color. So if we sort of set this up like so, I think that the dark oak strip just has this really nice neutral color that doesn't really take away from, like, that is striking, and it sort of is very contrasty to the rest of the colors. It's like very harsh, whereas that can be blended in a little bit nicer. And I just kind of like the muted look of the color, that's all. So with a little bit of slight adjustments, like maybe we add a little bit of andesite in every now and again as well, and possibly, wow, this haste is making it difficult. We'll see. I'm going to try not to have a completely solid wall made out of the bricks, but I also at the same time don't want to just have stuff that doesn't look quite right. So the andesite may work, it may not work. We'll have to see how it goes as we sort of put it all together. And then the other thing that I was talking about is how having this stone sort of coming out as though there's natural growth, and then creating it so that it looks like the spruce has been built up around it, and sort of like, I suppose you'd say it's been molded in and carved and crafted to fit around the existing landscape rather than them destroying this natural cavern. So sort of having little pieces, if I can build up a little bit here, maybe fill this area. Oh, of course, fill this area in a little bit like so. Then we get this idea that when we found this cavern, rather than disturbing too much in this area, we tried to build our whole base using the existing spaces in it. So having something like that where our building comes into it and is broken through by the pieces of stonework, which we can texture like we have up here using half slabs and maybe even some of the mossy cobblestone and whatnot. The mossy cobblestone added in there will help also bring out that tinge of green in the brick texture as well. And I want to try and make this feel far more earthy, whereas that feels far more, well, it's a different kind of feeling. So there's a general natural feel with the type of building supplies that I've used. So I've definitely got a lot of wood and a lot of that sort of, oh, another one. Sure. Oh my goodness. I at some point in this Let's Play, I'm going to have to stop capturing them. There just has to reach a point where I say enough is enough. But it is not this day. Come up here. good. I've mastered the ability to do that, I swear. So my point being, what I was talking about is how rather than having the naturalness being from the timber, I want this more to feel like we've used more of a stone. Since it's a little bit lower in the world, a larger cavern, it needs to be a little bit more solid feeling. So that's why I sort of want to implement the feeling of this being built into the existing cavern rather than carved out of an area. If that makes sense at all. I don't know, I just feel like I'm rambling now. So rather than me continuing on with this blabbering and not really getting anywhere, I think with the general idea of, I definitely think that having the stripped version is a better one, and trying to blend it all in with the existing. This is probably going to be a heck of a time lapse for me, like a lot of work to try and continue this look of a cavern downwards through here, and also create some form of structure that works for how I want it to. So I might actually remove this walkway and do a little bit better a job of blending it down, and we can add one back later once we've got the actual cavern shape sorted out. And then, yeah, I'm going to do my best to create this repository. So with that, I think the best thing for me to do is just to start working on it, and we'll see what we can come up with as I go. And then I'll pop back in once I've done a bit of the work. I think there'll definitely be some more to do after the time lapse, but once I've got the main structure sorted out, and it'll give me time while I'm building that to think through different ideas, we'll pop back in and see where we can go from there. So enjoy the time lapse, and yeah, we'll be back in just a second. Oh, I was just about to say, and welcome back, but this little guy looks like there's a couple of mobs around, and it doesn't surprise me with this this island. I might just go make sure that, yeah, you, come here. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right, I'll get him. I feel like at some point I'm probably going to just dispatch of... Oh, what do I have here? I think I'm just going to dispatch of some of the Endermen if I have too many, because... why am I capturing them all? That's a great question. So let's see if I can get this guy. But I won't know whether it's ideal amount until I start to... Hey, come on. Put the boat down. There we go. I won't know whether there's the ideal amount until I start to ferry them into the actual repository itself. And speaking of, let's go have a quick look at it. So now we have this vast cavern. I need to do a lot more of the detailing. I just skipped that so that I could get to starting on the actual structure itself. But I want to add a lot more light so that we kind of get to see the actual detail up in there. And if you saw at the end of the time-lapse section, there was just a little bit where I opened up underneath here, and it might not have been obvious, but there was probably about 10 plus spiders just all sitting in the corner underneath there. So I filled in the bottom of this so that we don't have that problem anymore. And I've started to get an idea of how I want the bookshelves set up. And I think I'll be putting a layer of something over the top of them just so that it looks slightly better. But I've reached the point now with this where I'm starting to have to decide what I want to do with the rest of the areas, like these side halls and whatnot. And I think that I want to put my Enderman in here. But I'm just wondering, and I'd like to have your opinion in the comments, whether I should open up these ends to be more like the full width. So a bit more like that shape that I'm doing right now. And then maybe a bit like what we have here. On these walls here, we could have some bigger sort of open areas to put more like the zombies and other types of mobs that we collect over time. So a bit more like a free range area on the side. And this episode's running a little bit late. Sometimes it's hard with the life as it is and not being able to do this full time to get everything sorted in time to keep to my schedule, I suppose. But with how much work I've done so far, we're probably going to do this in 2 parts. And I'd like to get the second part out a little bit quicker than the standard sort of timeline. I'll try and get it out within probably 2 days if I can, maximum of 3. And so I'd like to hear in the comments from you guys, like if you're watching it nice and early, what you think I should do, whether I should remove that sort of bookshelf and open up these ends to give myself more space and make it a little bit more like a grand hall. I can adjust some of the work that I've done on the sides here and sort of arch it out. And then, of course, once I fill in all of those spaces with little bits of greenery and more detailing like the mossy cobblestone, it could look pretty cool. And I will be adding some more different types of blocks into here that aren't just all mossy cobble. But over here, we've actually broken into one of the ravines that was underneath the base area. And you can see our Endermen have been just... Look at it. Oh, wow. It's actually crazy. Because the grass would not have naturally spawned down here, you can tell how many blocks they've been moving around. It's just ridiculous. And I think I might extend this place a little bit further back there and actually put a glass floor over here so we can still see down into this ravine. But we're slowly getting there with the details, and I am pretty happy with this. We've got a little bit of work to do to try and sort of work out how we're going to do our walkways from here on out. But yeah, I like it. It feels quite grand. I think once I light up the ceiling with some more lamps and some more greenery, it's going to feel a lot larger because at the moment that's quite dark. But all in all, I'm pretty happy. We really are cutting it very close to the water. Like some of the places here is directly 1 block to the water side. So we'll have to be careful if we open up this side as well, just so we're aware that the ocean's just above. But once we reach the point where in the next episode we start to finalize the detail in here and probably remove that stark line and blend this whole wall back in, I think it's quite grand. It's a decent scale. And as I start to add more and more detail in here, maybe some path blocks like through here and whatnot, just to break it up slightly rather than it all being this one stark white floor. I'm excited to see how it turns out. So I think before I finish the episode, I'd like to organize a couple more things. One of them being getting some details on top of these bookshelves, and then maybe just cleaning this area up as well and getting this entryway or exit a little bit more sorted. And then I know that we're getting close to starting to deal with all these mobs, and I'm so excited to clean this area up and remove all of these boats. I won't know myself with how clean it's going to appear. And let me just check. Okay, so we have been getting a few more resources as well, flowing through our water streams. Yeah, that's definitely started to fill up again. So that's cool. I do think that when I was down in that area, I was probably closer to a lot of unlit caves. So we're definitely... do I have... I don't. I'll have to fill that in a second. We definitely have a little less spawns than usual through there. But just if we pop over here, you can see where this bit here, this is actually where right underneath probably that block there is that other chamber on that side where I was going to put stuff. And yeah, okay, so if we pop through this side, we're definitely going to have to be careful about coming out into the ocean. Ooh! That was a bit unexpected. I'll just fill this up a little bit. So yes, as I work on that next episode, I really would like to hear from you guys in the comments on what you think so far, what you think of what you think of the area and how it's coming together, and whether you think I should expand that side. So if we look at it from up here, we're probably thinking like, imagine where that wall is there, continue that line across there for the width. So remove that whole corner section. I think that's probably the ideal, is to maintain that width between these two walls and sort of continue it on through. Because I would like to make, I think I said one side like a map wall, and maybe I could open up one in particular, be it that side or this side. And rather than digging into here and creating those big things, I could have this whole end be a bit of a mob museum or an informational area. Yeah, let me know what you think. And then we can add some details onto the walls here with our monuments, our statues for the Patreon supporters. And I'll put some lecterns in here and write down the subscribers' names and get some of you memorialized in this area, because I really do appreciate all the support. You guys are so fantastic. And I really I just love the interaction. I love hearing from you guys how much you love the series. It does make me feel really nice. Now I'm sitting here, I cannot think of what I want to do on top of these. So with that, I think we might wrap it up, call this part 1 of the repository build. That spider just died. And then we'll pop back in as quick as possible. I'll try and get the next episode out nice and quick for you guys, and finalize and work on the finishing the repository for episode 29, so that we're ready to move on to some more interesting things. Well, more interesting is not necessarily true, but some new things to start off with episode 30. So with that being said, I'd like to say thank you to Tom, my level 3 Patreon supporter. I forgot to say that at the end of the last episode. And to the rest of my Patreon supporters as well. Thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. And if anybody else is wanting to help me out moving towards making this a bit more of a full-time thing, I do have a link in my description. If you like this episode, leave a like on it and subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to do what we can to make this repository look a little bit more spectacular, clean up some of these walls, add some details so it's not just the stone, and add some lighting and greenery to detail it up, and get this whole build sort of finished. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I do hope you're taking care of yourselves. And until the next episode, which I promise I will try my best to get it out a little bit sooner than normal, take care, and I'll see you then. Bye guys.